we really have outside of Korea. So I'm truly excited to see this one. You don't see a lot of TVT in foreign competition. It's few and far between. But we got to take advantage of it once we get it. So both these players, really have a lot of different variations of TVT to work with. When I think of their play styles, UltrA is very passive, very slow, very methodical, but does not miss timings. He is not a player who's going to be missing any depots. He likes to win the game of attrition, whereas Dandy, very similar to his other Terran counterpart, Terror, has a lot of variation in his play. He can get hyper aggressive. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like a 3-fact Vulture, or a 2-port Wraith, or the complete polar opposite, just standard 1-fact expansion timing. Siege tank pressure mid game. So I'm kind of excited to see how this one's going to play out. It could. There's just so many different possibilities for a series like this. I want to say between these two players, Dandy has come out the victor more often than not, but UltrA definitely not one to shy away from some competition here. I think it's just going to be unique in that this is going to be the only TVT we're going to get to see. These are the final two remaining Terrans in the bracket from all over the world. So the best of the best here. And yeah, only one will be moving on to that semifinals match to go up against the winner of Bonith and Ziki, which is no easy feat, honestly. Map number 1 going to be Fighting Spirit for this series, a very strong map for TVT, or just, every matchup, honestly, in general. A lot of high ground bases. Every base has a gas base, so we'd expect to see a lot of high-tech units, in this matchup. A lot of siege tank play, plenty of vulture mines, possibility of 2-port Wraith, and it's really tough to, kind of engage in some of these. So some of these bases, rather. So it can play for more of a late game type of engagement, just because it's so inefficient to engage up cliffs, up high ground ramps versus siege tanks. Obviously, that's kind of what makes of all the matchups TVT such a I don't know. It's a stalemate almost a lot of the time, because it's quite difficult to pick and choose those engagement points and come out efficiently from them. So there we see UltrA, very strong Terran player from Chile, Soul Gaming. He's a player who I've had the pleasure of meeting actually at the LA LAN back in, gosh, what was that, 2020? Which was, or 2019 actually, yeah, 2019, which was a lot of fun. It wasn't a Zotac Cup. It was a Africa LAN, actually. It was, yeah, which was a lot of fun in LA. Jayun was there as well, but UltrA knocked me out of it. He's such a strong player, honestly. Then we have Dandy here. Definitely a name y'all are familiar with. He is one of the best Terrans outside Korea, man. He's just proven it time and time again. He, definitely not a player you can take lightly if you run up against him in a bracket. Even if you're, someone on the level of DeWalt or Bonnet's level, he can definitely take games off you. In fact, I think Dandy plays very regularly with Bonneth, and just because of that has very strong Protoss, or Terran versus Protoss rather. But that will not be his matchup today. He's going up TVT against UltrA, and with UltrA being from Chile, you can bet these folks have run up against each other quite a few times and know exactly how their opponents' play styles really tend to play out. And with that, it sounds like we are ready to go here. It's going to be UltrA going up against Dandy, Terran versus Terran on Fighting Spirit. Let's see it. And spawning top right as the blue Terran, it is Sol T Ultra. And spawning top left as the red Terran, it is Sol T Dandy. So close positions, horizontal fighting spirit. There's really no way to tell what we're going to end up seeing here. This matchup is so dynamic. You can see things like proxy 8 Raxes early, just standard Rax Expo, one fact. There's just so many different unique builds and opportunities. But we'll have to just kind of wait and see how this one ends up playing out. First depot going down in the main from Ultra, pretty standard. Looks like depot going down inside the main for Dandy as well here. Yeah, these two players have faced each other so often. I'm sure they have their own internal meta going into this this series here. When I think of Dandy, I definitely know he likes to utilize 2-port Wraith versus Zerg and versus Terran occasionally. So we'll have to see if maybe that's something he opts for here. Both players throwing down that 11 racks right along the edge of their main here, just to use that for additional scouting info later on. Vespian geysers being taken inside each of the mains. And finally, we see our first deviation here. It looks like Ultra will be the first to scout. Unfortunately, he's moving the complete wrong way on the map, scouting towards bottom right. And Dandy also going to be sending out a little bit of a later scout here. Well, we'll see which way that ends up going. And it will also be the wrong way. Gas being mined. Expect to see a factory, which is pretty standard from both these players here shortly. Huh. Looks like they're building the depot on the edge of the base as well. I guess just for additional scouting info later. Maybe to scout dropships and wraiths and things. I like that. Factory down in each of their mains at the moment as well. Getting up to those mech tech units. Siege tanks, vultures, Goliaths are pretty much the staple in this matchup. And here we go. Ultra finally going to get the first scout. Sees the Marine on the ramp for Dandy, top left. And that will chase his SCV off. So at least he knows exactly where Dandy is at the moment. 2 Marines on the ramp here for Ultra. Ooh, it looks like Ultra stopping gas a little earlier, whereas, I did just realize Dandy was mining gas still. You know what this means? This is most likely going to be a 2-port Wraith, I guess? Or, nope. It's going to be a command. I have no idea. It's going to be a command center from each of our players. Low ground command center. Ultra will scout it, though. Oh, but actually, Dandy also gets the scout off? That's huge. That's really, really big here for Dandy. I want to say Dandy is ahead in every way now. Has the gas advantage. Has a low ground command center placed on position. Yeah, I don't know. This just feels like a little bit of a build order advantage so far here for Dandy. Vulture will get chased off, but not before scouting a Vulture out of Ultra. Second factory going down in the main here for Dandy. Looks like no pressure really being put out from either player. And Dandy, though, with a massive, massive Vespian gas advantage. I wonder how that's going to come into play here. Is this going to be a third factory, maybe? This could just be 3-fact Volt. Yeah. Okay. I think Dandy's showing his hand here. This is going to be 3-fact Vulture pressure play out of Dandy. Good SCV transfer timing from both players here. Barracks being pushed off there for UltrA. UltrA, though, not really opting to scout anything of significance. Just sees the expo timing with his own barracks, and he just seems content with that. A lot of Ultras starting to be produced here for Dandy. Both our players tied up at 44 supply. Looks like UltrA getting a little aggressive here. I don't know about this. That is a lot of vultures here from Dandy. And yeah, Dandy just sees this. Oh my gosh, that mine, though, completely turns the tide. And suddenly, Dandy needs to be worried here. Siege tanks are so strong versus low numbers of vultures. And yeah, I mean, UltrA here, he's still got more mines he could lay. If he's able to get a strong positioning here on this natural, this could be game over. Second tank joins in, and there's no mines, remember, for Dandy here. Barracks coming down to land and take some focus fire as well. And suddenly, UltrA in striking position here. Dandy opting to go for a counter with these vultures. Oh no, cannot let his tank get trapped though. This was big. So very well done there from Dandy to get the trap. And yeah, this second tank should fall fairly quickly as well. So a little bit of a blunder, it felt like, for UltrA there. He did not need to, honestly, even siege. He just should have just kept rallying to his natural. And he gives up and donates both those siege tanks. You know, there was some lost mining time. There was some damage done that way, but still. It felt like he really needed to keep those tanks alive a little longer. Vulture advantage here for Dandy. So I think this is the pressure timing he was maybe initially looking for. Yeah, no vulture speed yet for UltrA either. UltrA does need a siege tank, and he gets one. This should push off the timing here from Dandy. UltrA, though, with the supply advantage. That, you know, that's no small feat. 4 factories up for Dandy at the moment. Looks to still just be pumping pure vulture at this point. Natural gas being taken for both players. No armory yet. At least for... Oh, okay. One armory is being built here from Dandy. Looks like UltrA trying to push out here. This is a lot of mines, though. I don't really feel super comfortable whenever you're going into waves of mines like this. I think he's got to play this very slow. He has a tank count advantage. But yeah, actually Dandy, though, is going to be the one with the map control, just due to having so many mines. I feel like UltrA's typical playstyle here would just be take a third, and I don't necessarily disagree with it. It's going to be very difficult for Dandy to engage into these siege tanks, especially when, you know, UltrA has the early siege tank numbers. So he's kind of just got to use that to his advantage. Looks like Vulture might have gotten spotted there. Maybe not. It looks like Dandy running up towards mid-right to the third, probably just to mine it and prevent UltrA, or at least slow UltrA, from taking his own third base. 3 vultures outside the natural here of Dandy will move in and start getting on top of this SCV line immediately. 2 SCVs already falling. 3. Ooh. If you're UltrA, you got to feel good about this one. And wow, suddenly... Ooh, that one hurt. Siege tank contain here for Dandy, doing work. It looks like UltrA trying to engage in here, but I don't know if he's got the numbers he needs. Yeah, it looks like every Vulture, every Siege Tank for UltrA going to end up falling here. And Dandy just very quickly reinforcing his position outside of UltrA's natural. Ooh, this is a tough spot to be in if you're UltrA now. He did have the supply advantage. Still kind of does. But this was really, really a difficult spot to push into. That's why map positioning just feels like it's everything, TVT. Oh, wow. That mine just escorting the two. Oh, my, and they shot it. That's so funny. Wow. Here we go. Looks like UltrA trying to desperately break out once again. 3 siege tanks and SCVs moving outside this natural. The tanks get some decent connects, but it's just not quite enough. He's just losing SCVs at this point. Oh, man. Heartbreaking here for UltrA. He was in such a good position here early on. It's only 1 weak tank remaining. Oh my goodness, don't tell me that mine. Almost a big brain play there. It was very well placed. Both these players just trading so much, but the trades are just going so much better here for Dandy because he was already the one set up. Ooh, okay. Nicely done there from UltrA to get that extra splash on that tank and remove it. Yeah, Dandy now with the 20 supply advantage. Things are looking pretty good here for our Peruvian Terran. And here we go, 3 siege tanks and SCVs engaging. Does target down a single tank, but just every time he does this now, it just feels like the trades are going so much better for Dandy because he's already in such a strong position. Oh, gets the tank shot. And suddenly, yeah, Dandy just still in such a strong position here. Taking a 3rd base at 12 o'clock, that's some confidence. 5 factories still pumping away. He's got that armory. UltrA just kind of sitting and actually decides to type out GG there. It was, I mean, it was very well done, honestly, at the beginning of that, but Dandy, because he was able to get that siege tank positioning right outside the natural, it was all the advantage he kind of needed. It's so tough if you're UltrA to be able to engage into 3 spread siege tanks efficiently like that. You know, hats off to UltrA. He played that one fairly well. Even, I think, had quite a sizable advantage early on, but just wasn't enough, man. Dandy's a veteran. He knows how to play his way out of those positions and did so, you know, very, very well, honestly. And with that, let's see here. The Circuit Breakers will be our next map here. So Circuit Breakers, I know for a fact, is one of Dandy's favorite maps. So he's got to be feeling pretty good going into this next match here. I've seen Dandy play mech on Circuit Breakers versus Zerg all the time, and he has some of the strongest mech on that map you could ever look to face, honestly. This will be another fun one. He didn't play hyper aggressive as I was maybe expecting him to start off the series with early on, just opting for, you know, that very quick natural expansion once again, but maybe things will kind of change up here. He's definitely not a player who sticks to a single routine over and over again. Whereas, you know, if you're UltrA, you got to be feeling pretty confident. You know, you had a good solid start there. Maybe if you could have hung on to it for a little bit more, he might have given him the advantage he needed to be able to pull that game out. But still, very, very well done. And yeah, Circuit Breakers, man, that's such a good map. I like that we're kind of going back to some of these old classics that were, you know, big last year, honestly. Yep, Dandy going 1-0 there. Only needs 2 more to take it. UltrA trying to mount the comeback here. Only down 0-1, but very, very, you know, close game 1, I should say, for TVT. And folks, it sounds like we are pretty much ready to go here. So it's going to end up being, once again, TVT, Dandy up 1-0, facing off against the great UltrA. And yeah, game number 2 here, folks. Let's jump to it. Ooh, and spawning. Bottom right as the blue Terran, Sol T UltrA. Top left, also as the Sol member, it is Sol T Dandy. So cross map, I think you see a lot of vulture play, kind of like we saw from Dandy here to kick things off game 1. There's just so many entrances on circuit breakers. You got the double, bridge. Obviously, you got that high ground leading over the mineral only, and then you could even move in from the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock bases as well. So units just kind of flow very well on this map. I might expect to see something like a 3-fact vulture play once again, but Dandy also not the kind of person to stick to the norms. I could very much see a 2-port Wraith like I was thinking we were going to see last game when he continued to mine gas, but I guess we'll just kind of have to wait and see. Depot going down in each of the mains here for both our Terrans. Nothing out of the ordinary here yet. We'll see if they kind of end up sticking towards, more of like their standard styles. I would very much expect that from UltrA. His strength has always just been in his, just standard play. He's very much a meta player that you can tell keeps up with a lot of the ASL broadcasts. Pretty much just copy pastes whatever he sees from Flash and Royal and Barracks and all the other incredible Terrans, which is honestly the way to do it. But Dandy, man, he's a player who plays to the beat of a different drum, man. He is not afraid of anything, and along with terror, it's something that makes him such a formidable player. Honestly, he's willing to take those risks, and he spends the time to practice those timings, and knows them inside and out, knows how to follow up from them. So, but still, we are not seeing anything out of the ordinary so far from either player. Just textbook TVT start here. Vespian gas on time. Looks like a couple Marines being pumped out from each of our players here. UltrA once again pulling the 2 additional SCVs off gas, and this time Dandy does as well. So this is looking to be 1-fact Expo TVT cross map, which is very, very standard. SCVs will not scout each other. End scout, unfortunately for UltrA, will mean that Dandy gets away without being scouted here early. UltrA blocking that ramp with that Marine. Dandy might try to right-click it. Oh, he does get by. Sees the factory. Sees one on gas. Actually is going to get a full scout off, it looks like. Still, not the biggest deal. As we expect, UltrA is just playing standard. There's not, there's not much of an advantage to seeing like, oh, like he's just playing very standard and there's nothing I can do to him right now. It's not like he's taking a risk and he's scouting 2-port Wraith or something like that. He's just doing UltrA things. Command center down for Dandy. So basically the exact same thing being confirmed from UltrA here with the later scout. 1 on gas still. And yeah, this is just textbook TVT, folks. SCV will fall. First vulture out here for Dandy. Probably start moving across the map. And UltrA just content with sitting. Second factory on the way here for UltrA. No add-on quite yet. Second factory on the way here for Dandy. Looks like there's like a base number of vultures you need to get to just to feel a little safe early, so no add-on being produced from either side quite yet. Just SCV production, vulture production, Ooh, third factory for Dandy. That was a very quick third factory. Oh, but actually, third factory from UltrA as well. So, very well done. I know some Terrans don't like this style of TVT, or Nyokin in particular loves just walling off at the natural and just goes straight into tank Wraith, like, which is possible, but you got to wall for sure. But if you don't wall, you know, something like this timing can be very difficult to defend. We're seeing UltrA get it slightly ahead in supply here. I talked about it, but he really stands apart as far as his mechanics go. I think, you know, the longer this game goes, if significant damage isn't really dealt to UltrA, he'll hang with just about everybody. He's very much one of those players who has a very solid game plan and likes to stick to it, and it'll win him games. Barracks scouting over each of the naturals almost at the same time. Dandy opting to just back up. Actually, both players just content with kind of scouting the gas, it looks like, over their opponent's natural. Trying to see that gas timing, trying to see maybe some slight troop movement. Add-on spinning here for Dandy. Don't believe there is an armory yet for either player. That's a lot of vultures here moving out for Dandy. Yep, no armory. Ooh, both players looking like they're going to meet in the center of the map. Ooh, I don't know about this. Okay, UltrA is on the high ground though. Comes down from the high ground. Nice counter engage here from UltrA. This is looking like it's going to be very close between these two. Oh, vultures. Oh man, that one low red HP vulture from Dandy just doing so much additional damage here. This is very close, but it looks like Dandy will just barely come out on top. Looks like UltrA retreating to the 2 Marines. That will give him the little extra DPS he needs to hold this timing. SCV is being pulled off the line to repair. And very nicely done as far as the repair goes. Very nice repair out of UltrA, but shoot, it might just not be enough here. And every single vulture finally does fall. SCV is going to fall momentarily, and UltrA once again forced to tap out. Man, that was such a close timing, honestly. Once again, UltrA rushed to that high ground to try to, you know, he got the scouting info he needed to see that Dandy was moving across the map, tried to get to that high ground and take a high ground versus low ground engage, and it just barely didn't work out for him. But still very, very well done from each of these players. Once again, Dandy going to take the match here, and now is up 2-0 and in striking position to basically move on to the semifinals already here. So very, very impressive and very well done from Dandy once again. UltrA, he's giving him a good fight, man. He's just gotta change something up. I don't know. He's gotta, maybe the tank play from game 1 could be kind of the answer he needs. Just kind of sit back, don't, you know, get some siege tanks outside his third, secure a third, and try to play from there. But, you know, TVT is such a difficult matchup. It's hard to say. Feels like it's one of those things where it's just all about map control. Because, you know, I mean, felt like UltrA was really hanging with Dandy there as far as the eco goes, but the engagement happened, and I don't know, Dandy's just a little better with the focus firing. It felt like vulture versus vulture. So, and sometimes, you know, good control is all it takes to win some of these matches. We see it with Boneth all the time in his reavers. But yeah, with that, Dandy 2-0, man. Just looking so strong, showing why he's one of the last remaining Terrans in this entire tournament. He is so difficult to deal with, man. He, you know, such a long-standing, phenomenal player who's been around the scene for a long time. And I am, yeah, definitely enjoying his play so far in this tournament. And it sounds like we are ready, folks. Let's get into game number 3 here, TVT. It's Dandy leading 2-0 going up against UltrA. And let's tune in. Ooh, spawning mid-left as the blue Terran. It is Soul T Dandy. And spawning top right as the red Terran, it is Soul T UltrA. On one of my favorite maps of all time, Tau Cross. I love this map, honestly. It's going to be interesting for TVT, not having that high ground ramp in the main. It's can be a little more difficult to hold some like early Marine Vulture timings, and I guess just Marine timings in general, if you're talking like 2 racks in the center of the map or something, TVT. But, you know, other than that, plays quite well. Just about every base on the map has a Vespian Geyser, which is pretty important for TVT, or at least your first 3 bases do, which are the most important. But yeah, I'm kind of excited to see this one. I haven't seen Tau Cross be played in a little bit here, and it can make for some pretty interesting games. One unique thing about this map is if your Terran opponent gets within striking like wall range of your main, sometimes they can siege your production from outside your main, which is kind of cute. You don't really see that in too many different maps. Also, there's a cliff over each of the naturals, and siege tank drops are just ridiculously strong on this map. If you're able to secure some of the high ground positioning over the naturals and just siege tank drop, it's quite annoying to deal with. Not seeing anything too outrageous from either of these players once again. I mean, we have seen nothing but just very, very standard openers so far between these two, and it looks like the same is going to be true once again here. Vespian Gas going down just about completed inside each of the mains of UltrA and Dandy. SCV Scout underway for both our players here. Looks like Dandy will get the first Scout. Wonder... I mean, it's not going to make a big deal that he really has that first Scout. Ooh, it looks like Dandy even delaying the first Marine a little bit here. I don't know if that's maybe to sneak an SCV out slightly earlier or something like that. But there is a Marine in production here for UltrA, so once that's completed, should be able to push off this SCV that's scouting in from Dandy. Yep, looks like Dandy doing a great job with his SCV so far, not taking a single bit of damage from that Marine. Just wants to delay this scout as long as he possibly can. Knows right where the barracks is at now, sees the second Marine being produced. Factory in production as well. And now UltrA going to be running inside the main of Dandy as well. I like this, even though, you know, Dandy has been very standard, let's say, the first 2 games here. He's definitely a player who will mix in stuff like 2-port Wraith, so I think scouting Dandy, just for the sake of being able to feel relief, is very like worth it, honestly. Command center down at the natural for each of our Terrans, so looking very similar to the last 2 games, honestly, from both these players, with the exception of Dandy continuing to mine that gas the first game. So I would likely expect to see 2 more factories be produced from each of our Terrans here, and the add-on at the natural delayed. Ooh, Starport, our first adjustment. Now this is what I was talking about. You can go Siege Tank Wraith TVT in just about every single game, but you need to wall. 1000% need to wall. So UltrA will need to at some point, not soon, but before the Vulture count gets too heavy here from Dandy, needs to wall this natural off and make sure it's secured. There we go. Third factory on the way from Dandy. Machine shop being produced. No add-on yet on the starport. Now remember, this will also potentially allow for a siege tank drop over the natural of Dandy, which is quite scary. So even though Dandy might have more units, a siege tank drop on this map is just devastating. Once the siege tanks are in position sieged above your cliff, there's just no trading effectively with it. You're stopping mining time, you force the natural to be lifted, and it's just really, really scary to deal with. Looks like Wraith going to be moving across the map here. There are a couple Marines from Dandy, but that is all of the anti-air. Actually, there might even just be the one. And here we go. A lot of vultures for Dandy. Dandy's going to be forced to counter here. Oh man, you got a full wall. Just get the third depot. Ultra starting to pluck away. Do a little bit of damage here. That is a lot of vultures though. It's really all going to come down to this. This is a big swath of vultures from Dandy, and it might, if he targets everything down well, be enough to break this wall off. Second Wraith running across the map here for Ultra, try to add some additional damage. It's almost go time here for Dandy, it looks like. Here we go. Yep, focusing down the vultures immediately. He'll target the Marines off next. And then focus down each of these tanks. It was not fully walled off, so he's able to kind of get in there. One tank being focus fired. Repair is just not there. Barracks being landed as well. And SCVs being targeted off. And shoot. It looks like Dandy getting the damage he needed to kind of take this one out. SCVs being focused down. That last tank will fall as well. And this is big, big damage. Two Wraiths, though, still continuing to pluck away from Ultra, taking down the SCV count, but mines are online now, and this siege tank is just being completely surrounded here by these vultures. Vultures getting inside the main mineral line, starting to focus fire some of these SCVs. And supplies have just plummeted here for Ultra. There is no counter, technically, to these Wraiths. You know, he's going to need to wait for a turret, but actually GG well played is called there from Ultra. And unfortunately for him, Dandy takes the series 3-0, man. That was a very, very strong showing there from Dandy, showing why, you know, he's just been in this game for so long and why he's such a big name to deal with, man. And he will be moving on as our third player to make it to the semifinals. So congratulations there to Dandy. He unfortunately has the demise of going up against the winner of Bonneth versus Zeke, who are just going to be two phenomenal superstars here. PVZ, but yeah, Dandy, man. He made short work of Ultra there. He looked so strong, and you know, I'm really excited to see who he's gonna go up against and who he's gonna end up facing. You know, who ends up being the winner of our next match. Which Bonneth, Zeke, man, as a Zerg player, there's no one I love watching more, honestly.